Welcome in and welcome back to another episode of Small Ball with Kenny Beecham, the first episode of the year 2025. Today, I want to go through contenders, man. I want to go through contenders to give my new hierarchy because things are always shifting in the grand scheme of basketball. Later in the episode, we're going to bring back the 5 Out with producer Greg, and I want to talk about the teams that I have shut off for the rest of the season. All that and more in today's episode. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, tell a friend, and tell a friend if they need their NBA fix. Small Ball with Kenny Beecham might be the place for them. I cannot wait for the rest of the season, man. And we were just talking before we loaded up about this really being the dog days of the NBA. Even for me, where my whole job is to watch, consume the NBA and talk about it, it really is the dog days where, like, the entire holiday season, I feel like I didn't watch much live basketball, man. Except for, of course, Christmas Day was an absolute banger, but we talked about that already. I didn't watch much live basketball. I haven't watched much live basketball in the last week or so. I've been doing a pretty good job of waking up early to see what I missed, like watching the 76ers give up a 15-0 run to end a game against the Sacramento Kings. Not the greatest thing. Watching Wembanyama go against the Clippers on New Year's Eve and just absolutely dominate. So I've, of course, still been locked in, but also been a little less locked in as far as being there in real time. Because one of my favorite things as I continue to grow like the brand of Enjoy and whatever Twitter accounts and stuff was like live tweeting games. Like, did y'all see that off the backboard alley-oop from Chris Paul to Wemby? Not a lot of that has happened over the last 2 weeks, but I definitely have been still locked in. So this is the way we're going to do things today. We're going to check in on my contenders because I think that I still have the same contenders as the last time we talked, but they're in a different order now because we have such a big sample size. Like, now we can really start talking about advanced analytics. The first month or so of the season, like we brought it up, of course, we kind of took it with a grain of salt. Is this a hot shooting streak for this specific player? Will they ever come back down to earth? I'm looking at you, Buddy Hield. The answer was yes. Now with this much sample size, we could kind of talk about some stuff. And so here's the order right now. The first team. My still king of the NBA, the team that is number one on my hierarchy, is still the Boston Celtics. Now, on a night-to-night basis, the Celtics don't look like the best team in basketball, but there's this level of respect that you get once you come off a ring. And I decided to do this little experiment because I am guilty of this almost the last, 3 out of the last 4 years. Well, my favorite era of basketball is this current era, this era of parity, this era that people on Twitter tell you is the worst era in ball. It's not. It's actually the best. And because there's this level of parity, we use that respect level from the previous champion and we carry it over. And I'm not saying the Celtics don't deserve it because, I still got them number one. But I was thinking, how often, doing again the parity era, and I'm calling it post 2020, right? Since the bubble, since LeBron James and them got into 2020, we've seen a different champion. I guess it went back before that, but that's where I started my experiment. How much respect did the defending champions get for the entirety of the next season? Do we really live in a league or you got to take the crown? Or do we have NBA thinkers that's like, this team don't nearly look the same. This team don't nearly look as dominant as the year before. Now, the Celtics were so dominant last year, so dominant in the regular season, so dominant in the postseason. And this year, they haven't really lived up to that completely. Some of that could be championship hangover. Some of that could be just the overall fatigue of a lot of their players going into the Olympics this summer, Porzingis coming into the season injured. There are a lot of different factors for why the Boston Celtics right now are a half a game away from being the 3 seed versus the 1 seed where they won 60 plus games last season. But I went back thinking about this respect factor. And I found a bunch of articles that were written the day before the NBA playoffs started for every single season. So let's take a step back. Going into the 2021 playoffs, again, in 2020, the LA Lakers ended up winning that championship. My question was, how much respect did that Lakers team get the next season? They went into the postseason as a 7th seed. If y'all remember, this is the year where LeBron James played about 40 games. This is the year where Anthony Davis played about 30. So with their 2-star players being out for the majority of the season, they only ended up being a 7th seed. And they went into a 2-7 matchup against the Phoenix Suns. So I went back. I'm like, okay, what did the experts think? The experts at ESPN, the experts at Bleacher Report, the experts at CBS Sports all went into that first round playoff series and said, no. I know the Lakers are the 7th seed, but guess what? They're going to win this. Not only did they predict that the Lakers were going to go out there and win that first round matchup against the Phoenix Suns, which they eventually lost 4-2, They predicted they would win in the second round versus Portland. They predicted that they would go to a game 7 versus the Clippers, a good old LA versus LA. And in Bleacher Report's case said, hey, the reigning champion, the team that is a 7th seed this season, they still got enough to win the championship, even though this season they weren't nearly as good as the previous year. The ultimate amount of respect for a championship team. And listen, I don't blame them. I didn't go back to watch my own videos, but I promise you I was probably in this boat as well. They got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and oh my God, they're not healthy right now, but last time they were healthy, they won a championship. Y'all know what really happened in 2021. That was the year that the Milwaukee Bucks broke the curse and they went on to win their championship as well. And my question was, how much respect did that Milwaukee Bucks team end up getting? Well, the year after they won a championship, they followed it up by being a 3 seed. They went to the playoffs and played against the Bulls, cakewalk, and they played against this team. CBS Sports had their 8 experts predict every single round in the playoffs. Again, these articles are written the day before the first tip-off of the playoffs. All 8 of the experts predicted that they would beat the Chicago Bulls. Of course, the Bulls suck. 7 of those same 8 people predicted that the Milwaukee Bucks would win the second round. 7 of those 8 people predicted that they would win the Eastern Conference. And then of the 7 that predicted they would win the East, 3 of them thought that they were going to go on to repeat. The actuality was they lost to Grant Williams at game number 7 against the Boston Celtics. But the ultimate amount of respect year after that. And this is probably the most damning evidence of it all, because if you don't remember what happened in 2022, that was the year that, the Golden State Warriors did it again. No Kevin Durant. This time just turning back the clocks and say, hey, we still got one more in us. Shout out to Wiggins for his phenomenal season. This is the most damning evidence of it all. Because the year coming off that 2022 championship, the Warriors weren't nearly as good. Wiggins was missing a bunch of time for personal reasons, and then when he did play, he wasn't very good. A lot of the younger guys that people expected to take a step up did not take a step up. Hell, some of those same young guys still ain't taking a step up. It's been a little while. They went into that season after winning the championship with a record of 44-38, y'all. But despite that, Bleacher Report's experts predicted that the Warriors would go on to win the damn championship. They were 44-38. And Bleacher Report's like, nah, they just won last year, so they're probably going to be able to do it again. And then this is it. This was the year that the Denver Nuggets went on to win. And New York Times' experts, all of them predicted a repeat for the Nuggets. Now, I say all of that to say, we have a really hard time differentiating what is championship hangover and what is right versus wrong, what is good versus bad. And again, the Boston Celtics are still a very, very great team, but they don't look as dominant this year. They are, I'm going to talk about it like it's bad. They are 24-9, but in their last 10, they're 5-5, and they're about to go on this West Coast road trip that might really give us a real idea of who the Celtics are. I'm still giving them the ultimate amount of respect, because something that differentiates them from some of these other teams that we mentioned that won it but weren't able to repeat is they feel like they're a team that you just cannot scheme against. Simply put, some of the other teams we're going to talk about in my championship hierarchy, I feel like there's a world where an opposing coach can kind of exploit some things. I just don't know how you exploit the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series, because I truly do trust Joe Mazzulla to be able to make necessary adjustments. Hypothetically, if some team does punch them in the mouth in game number 1 with this something they've never seen before, that Joe Mazzulla and his staff will be able to remedy it and then fix it all. With them having so many great perimeter defenders, it doesn't matter what type of guard play you have against them. They're going to find a way to defend it very well, and they win the math in almost every single game. This is the prototypical repeat type of team, but damn it, I also thought that about the Denver Nuggets. So who knows? I'm still giving them the ultimate amount of respect, but again, their schedule right now is about to get real tough. That West Coast road trip be tripping some people up. Now, they just beat the Toronto Raptors by a gazillion points the other night. Then they have the Timberwolves, then the Rockets, then the Thunder, then the Nuggets, then the Kings. And they're like that West Coast road trip is insane. And if anybody could get up for it, it is this team. But I'm just letting you know, I am watching these next 5 games so very closely for the Boston Celtics, because I think it will tell us a lot about this team going into year number 2 of trying to repeat, or going into a repeat type of season. My number 2 team on my hierarchy is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who could you expect other than them? This team is one of the most destructive teams I've been able to watch ever. Just ever. When I watched them the other night against the or the next morning against the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's like that third quarter. Like if there's any single quarter that you need to watch that kind of encompasses who the Oklahoma City Thunder are, it is that quarter where they're deflection, they are causing steals. J-Dub is getting Julius Randle twice in felt like back-to-back possessions, and then they had their MVP candidate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander come out there and just really shut them down. I just don't know what you do about them. And this is kind of crazy to have them this high, mostly because they've had shooting regression like crazy compared to their last season. Last year, they had so many great players go out there and shoot what was career highs, and a lot of them, majority of them, are having near career low shooting numbers. And still, they're finding ways to have one of the better offenses in basketball, but this is the defensive-oriented team. They're 7th in offense right now, number 1 in defense by 2.5 points. The Houston Rockets, who's number 2, they're 2.5 points worse than them defensively. That is an insane number. Deflections, steals, protection. And them being number 2 is really dependent on what the hell happens with Chet Holmgren. I haven't seen a single report about his overall rehabilitation and stuff. You do see him at games and he's still on his crutches, yada, yada, yada. But if they have him healthy, and not just healthy, but let's say 80% of the player that we saw before he went down with his injury, this is going to be one of the toughest outs in basketball. And we talked about it last time on this podcast, where I do believe because some of those dudes have had their shooting regression, that they could benefit from going out there and going to get a Cam Johnson or one of the other available shooters across basketball, because they can pretty much outbid anybody for anybody. And they could really, like that. If there's one Achilles heel of them, it is that the shooting might not hold up come postseason. Who knows? Like, they're going to make it, many teams are going to try to make it super, super tough for Shai. And Shai showed us in the 2 series that he had last year that, like, you can scheme against me, I'm going to still find a way to get my shot off. But even though they are the 12th ranked defense or offense in basketball, I still watch this team and think to myself how insanely efficient their offense is, where I don't see many possessions that end in just head-scratching things. I just don't see it. And that is one of the contender type qualities. Great defensive team, no wasted possessions. If I'm going to cause this many turnovers and I'm also not going to turn the ball over and not going to do this and not going to do that, that could really be the differentiating factor. Now, another thing that you could question is, will they be able to cause this level of havoc come postseason, right? Usually the game slows down, and that was one of the things that happened last year. They were one of the best deflection teams, one of the best turnover creating teams in basketball in the regular season. Come postseason, it was a little bit tougher to do that. So if we are a team that does that very often and we can't have that happen, what happens to us? And you kind of saw that in their last loss that wasn't really a loss, the NBA Cup championship, where they did get them to the Milwaukee Bucks to turn the ball over, but it wasn't a ton of live ball turnovers that they could turn into easy 2-on-1 opportunities, 3-on-2 opportunities that lead to a layup or a trailing 3, yada, yada, yada. So again, they aren't the perfect team, but damn, they feel like they're a smooth number 2 on the hierarchy. Number 3 would have to be Cleveland. Cleveland and OKC. I'm going to bunch them together. They've got to the point, for me personally, they're in a place where only few teams in my lifetime have been. Those teams are the 2016 through 2018 Warriors, the 2016 Spurs, the 2013 Miami Heat. When I load in to watch their games, OKC and Cleveland, I expect them to win. When they are down by 16 points, I expect them to come back and win that game. And I haven't felt this way about many teams. Now, we're getting 2 in the same year, which is kind of crazy. Again, we had 2 in 2016 with the Spurs and the Warriors, but this is just an elite class to be in. And as good as they have been, and by many of the metrics, they have been the best team in basketball, I still have to have them number 3. And the reason I have them number 3 and not number 2 or even number 1, given how great they've been, is that I still watch this and I still do believe there are some things that other teams could exploit. Like when I watched them play against the LA Lakers a few nights back, there's a game where Austin Reeves ended up having nearly a 30-point triple-double. That point of attack defender, if this guy, okay, this is the scheme, just breaking it down in one sentence. The scheme for the Cleveland Cavaliers is funnel to the bigs. Simply put, we got Jared Allen and all defensive Evan Mobley on our back end. hey, our perimeter defenders, they compete every single night, but we ain't got the best of that. We're going to funnel them to the big fellas and let the big fellas do the dirty work. Now, if you have a player, I guess who Austin Reeves is recently, I don't know. If you have a player that's like, no, I'm not going to allow you to funnel me, and I'm going to go out and get to my spots where I want to be. You're not going to be able to control the shots that I take. I'm in control here. When you have those type of players, I feel like those are the teams and the coaches that can scheme around Cleveland's defense. So that's the one thing that scares me. The other thing that scares me is like sometimes I feel like they have to be due for shooting regression. Like every single month of their season so far, the amount of three-pointers they've taken have jumped by 5% every single month. First month of the season, I feel like they really filling out the Kenny Atkinson ordeal. And okay, we shoot in, let's say, I think it was 33% of our shots are three-pointers. Cool. Next month, 38%. Next month, it's 43% of our shots are coming from behind the arc, and guess what? We are shooting a scorching 40% as a team. Part of me looks at that and say, can I really trust that they're gonna shoot? What's the actual number? 41.3% from three all season long. 41.3% from three all postseason long. Those are the things that scare me. Everything else is perfect. JJ Redick said, you have to play near perfect basketball to beat them. And I feel that, again, on the same level as that Warriors team or that Spurs team or that Heat team. Those teams have all-time legends. We have Steph Curry and Kevin Durant on one of those teams. We have Tim Duncan and so on. So we got LeBron James on the other team. Cleveland ain't got that right now. They don't have one of the all-time greats unless Evan. No, let me chill. But I still do respect and love everything. And I'm going to bring it up again. The patience that front office has had with 2 years of people telling them they need to trade Donovan Mitchell because he wants to go to New York. They got to trade Darius Garland because he wants out. And that wasn't people telling them. There was like a legit thing that Rich Paul and them said, hey, if Donovan Mitchell's on the scene next year, you need to move me. They said, no. We need to see what we have. Let's see what Evan turns into. Let's see what a new coach can do. And Kenny Atkinson is the front runner for Coach of the Year, even though I got a lot of love for Jamal Mosley and how he's been able to keep things settled with all of the injuries. Or I got a lot of love for Taylor Jenkins, who just continues to have the worst injury luck in the league and still finds a way to dominate teams. Like, I got a lot of love for those dudes, but Kenny Atkinson turned this team to an offensive juggernaut. There's a team that we knew defensively was going to be able to do their thing. Kenny Atkinson has them as an offensive juggernaut. That is crazy. My number 3 and number 4 are pretty interchangeable here. My number 4 and number 5 are pretty interchangeable. At 4, I have the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Dallas Mavericks are going to be missing Luka Doncic for the next month or so. And just like we talked about with the Boston Celtics, a lot of what I have, belief that I have in the Dallas Mavericks are based on their last year's success and how beautiful it all worked out during their championship run. And now I personally believe, and a lot of the stats believe, that this is a better team this year than was last year. So I just have the ultimate amount of respect for Luka and Kyrie. And PJ Washington has turned me into a real fan. Y'all know, I don't use the word fan very lightly. I don't. I love basketball. I love a lot of players, but damn it, I'm not a fan of a lot of different players. PJ Washington is turning me into a fan, man, because I've always, throughout the entirety of me watching basketball, I've always been a guy that's absolutely love players that can do stuff that don't show up on the box score. They're like, I listen, what is it called? The litmus test? The litmus test of a ball watcher is how they perceive certain players. Because if you just watching the box score, you don't really know what the hell PJ Washington is up to. Sometimes he can, like in that game against the Sacramento Kings where it was no Kyrie, no Luka, so on and so forth. He could give you a smooth 25 points. Like, he can do that for sure. But a lot of the stuff that PJ does just won't show up. 2.5 quarters of the opposing best players taken off. PJ, go stop that man. That won't show up on the box score. That just won't. And I don't know. I really respect what they're doing over there. So I got them number 4. And then my number 5 team will be the New York Knicks. I don't know if y'all been really keeping up. This Knicks team has been better and better as the time has gone on. It feels like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges keep having to switch spots where, like, the first month of them playing together, OG's averaging 20 points. And you're like, yeah, what the hell is going on with Mikal Bridges? His jump shot is awful. He's got the hitch. He can't find his shot. And then the next month, it's Mikal Bridges averaging 21 points. And then now people on Twitter is asking if OG Anunoby is okay. I don't know if we'll ever get those two dudes both averaging 20 at the same time. I don't even know if there's enough touches for both of them to average 20. But what we've seen from Mikal Bridges is making you think that all of the trades, the big ass trade they did in order to get him, it's just gonna be worth it at the end of the day. Where I believe that he's been so much better defensively over the last 2 to 3 weeks. And you traded for him for a combination of Phoenix version of him and Brooklyn's version, right? Phoenix version because, hey, he was an all-defensive player. He finished, top 3 in DPOY. And then he got to Brooklyn and said, I'm going to spread my wings a little bit. I'm going to be a self-creator. I'm going to do a lot more than sit in the corner and wait for Chris Paul or Devin Booker to pass me the ball. Here in Brooklyn, I guess I'm the number one guy. And he did some pretty cool stuff there for a little bit. They needed a combination of that. They needed him to be a near all-defensive caliber player, but also understand that, hey, we need you to also be great offensively. And I feel like Jalen Brunson is starting to find a little middle ground where he can say, hey, on Christmas night, this is your day, Mikal. Go out there and get a ass 40. And then other games like, oh, man, I'm going to give the Washington Wizards 50 because for whatever reason, we need to do that against the Wizards occasionally. The Wizards played them very well for 2 games straight. And I'm like, oh, damn. And then the Wizards won a game against the Bulls yesterday. So I guess the Wizards are... No. But I feel like Jalen Brunson has started to find that balance because there were times earlier in the season where I felt like we weren't getting the takeovers from Jalen Brunson that we need. Sometimes it really is like, hey, I am the best player on this floor right now. I'm going to play as such. And sometimes we miss that in the fourth quarters of some games. Karl-Anthony Towns has been way better than I think anybody could have really anticipated. I just didn't expect him to go to New York. And again, I really did like to trade for them. I don't want to act like I didn't, but I did not expect him to basically be putting up career numbers. He's averaging 25 points per game, 14 rebounds. He's shooting 44% from 3. When the man says he is the best shooting 5 of all time, damn it, I can't help but to agree. And he's shooting 55% from the field, 44% from 3. And I wish he hit his free throws a little bit better because it's rare we get a near 7-footer or a 7-foot guy in a 50, 40, 90 club. I know we've done it once, but it's just been an amazing season. And don't look now, the defense is looking so much better. A team that for the first month and a half were sitting around 22, 23 with a great offense, they've climbed up that rank to be the 12th best defense. So they're the number 2 offense and the 12th best defense. That's a good recipe. And over the last couple of weeks, they've been the number 3 offense and the number 8 defense. That's a really good recipe. We got Josh Hart, back-to-back triple-doubles. Him starting to find his way again after basically talking about how he was struggling to find where he fits on this team. You fit right there as the heart and soul. And then they had a game against the Utah Jazz where Jalen Brunson was a late scratch. And again, it's the Jazz, so I'm not going to act like they did this against a championship level team. But for Karl-Anthony Towns to switch up and say, hey, all right, I got us. I'm the 1A now. He was so perfect. Tyler Kolek, they said Tyler Kolek on the broadcast, he played a 40-minute game the night before in the G League and came in and gave them quality minutes. That's great. And the only thing that's missing from the New York Knicks today is a center. It's another center. And maybe that's Mitchell Robinson when he comes back. But I look at them and as all these other teams across the league are second apron teams and they won't be able to go out in the buyout market. I'm looking at the New York Knicks as below the apron and say, hey, if a center, hypothetically, if a center does get bought out, and I'm thinking about the candidates right now. So, what is a center that could get bought out here? So if Richaun Holmes, I don't even know if Richaun Holmes playing good basketball. We're going to talk about that in a second. If somehow Nick Richards doesn't find a team, which he should, they are a team that can say, hey, we need one more big body and we can afford to do this buyout thing. They might be the number 1 buyout destination in basketball, considering some of the other top teams in hoops just literally can't. The Boston Celtics literally cannot do it. Some of the other great teams literally cannot do it. I get to go to New York, one of the best cities in the world, play for a coach that if I play hard defensively, he's going to play me, and I could potentially go win a ring. Yeah, I'll do that. They're currently on a 9-game streak for the Knicks, and it's kumbaya. It's really, really kumbaya. In New York. So those, as of today, January 2nd, 2025, which I got to get used to saying, those are my 5 contenders in basketball in order. I do have some bubble teams, though, like the Milwaukee Bucks, who just had a really good comeback versus the Indiana Pacers on New Year's Eve, where the Pacers were up by 20. They're talking trash. Shout out to Tyrese Halliburton. That's what he gonna do. And one thing I absolutely loved about this game, and this was not something I saw live again, I watched a little bit later. There was a play that went semi-viral on Instagram of Giannis being guarded by Pascal Siakam. He get into his bag. Bing, bing, bing. Jump shot, mid-range jump shot. Cash. They're down by 19 points at this time. And what did Giannis do? He got in Pascal's face to talk trash. Oh, man. I love a player that'll talk trash even if they're down 19, because it just hits better when you pull off the ultimate comeback, and they did. That's huge. So they're still a bubble team for me. It's unfortunate that after the NBA Cup, they basically missed Giannis for some time, then missed Dame for some time, because I felt like they were building momentum to get back into this hierarchy, and then they just lost a few different times because they were missing their best players. So they are on the bubble for me. The Denver Nuggets are still on the bubble for me. And damn it, shout out to Russell Westbrook, man. We did our New Year's resolutions for NBA teams on my other podcast, Numbers on the Board. And one of my New Year's resolutions for the Denver Nuggets is continue to start Russ. Since he's been a start, he's 9-2. And I mean, a lot of these games, it's, of course, Jokic doing best player in the world stuff, but also Brody going out there and giving us double-digit assist nights, where I was skeptical, I guess is the word I would use, in the signing of Russell Westbrook and how he could fit. Because the last time we remember Russell Westbrook was in the playoffs, it was fucking awful. And it's not necessarily about how he performed, because it was his worst playoff outing ever. But it was more about what the other teams did to him, how they guarded him. And that's still a question mark I have come postseason, right? How will teams respect or disrespect Russell Westbrook come postseason? And again, it wasn't about the performance. It was about the preparation from the other teams. That I looked at that and say, hey, if he goes to Denver, and this is how other teams are going to guard him when it matters, not in the regular season, but when it matters, how much of a threat or a positive can he be? And that's still to be seen, right? We're not in the postseason right now. They're not guarding him nearly as, I want to say aggressive. What's the opposite of aggression? Passively? They're not guarding him nearly as passively right now that they did in that postseason run last year with the Clippers. So I don't know how it would translate to postseason, but right now he's been a near perfect fit. When we talk about Jokic two-man games, of course, Jamal Murray is going to be number one, but like Brody in this 2.5, 3 month span, it's like, man, this two-man game looks so like they've been playing together forever. And Brody talked about like, hey, my job is to make it easy for the best player in the world. And I truly, truly do believe that's exactly what he's doing. That when he's on the court with Nikola Jokic, he doesn't overstep his bounds, something that, goddamn it, he did a lot over the last couple of years on different teams. It's almost perfect fit. And they're starting to win a bunch of games. They're climbing up the ranks right now. They're sitting at the 4 seed after a 7-3 stretch. Jamal Murray, the slow start from Jamal Murray maybe been overblown, because over the last 2 weeks, he's given us really good games. And some of those games were like not game-winning shots, but like game-icing shots. So maybe all of the conversation around them was overblown. Maybe it wasn't. I guess time will tell. But right now, they're still a bubble team. I need to just see a little more. And then my last 2 bubble teams are the Memphis Grizzlies, who I just don't know what to make of them, as they continue to be the 2 seed and continue to win basketball games, even when nobody is playing. The other night, listen, I had like maybe a 15-minute segment I wanted to give, like just straight bars for the Phoenix Suns. Fucking awful. I came on this show and told the world that the Suns were going to be a surprise regular season team. I never said they were going to be a contender, because I didn't believe in that, but a surprise regular season team, a team that could win on night to night. And through the first 2.5, 3 weeks of the season, that was the case. They were like, what, the 1 seed? And since then, they can't win basketball games. They can't win basketball games. Here's the inactive list for the Memphis Grizzlies in their game versus the Suns. Vince Williams Jr., Gigi Jackson, Marcus Smart, Yuki Kawamura, Zach Edey, Ja Morant, also Santi Aldama, Brandon Clark, and Jake LaRavia. Is that 8 rotational players? The answer is yes. That's 8 rotational players out. And they went up against the Phoenix Suns and won the game. They went into Phoenix on your home court when they were missing 8 rotational players and bust that ass. So the Memphis Grizzlies are one of my bubble teams because I don't know what to make. Jaren Jackson Jr., all-star lock, all-defensive lock. But I just don't know. Do I trust them to win 4 playoff series? I don't know. Phoenix Suns are awful, though. You can't call it a big three when you have a negative net rating when those three best players on the court. So negative net rating with three $50 million players. Are you being real? And there's no wiggle room to really get better. So again, I could have gave them some bars. I just being wrong is a part of the job. I'm not mad that they made me look like a jackass. I'm mad that they are bad more than anything. Because I love Devin Booker. He's one of my 10 favorite players in basketball. I love KD. But the fact that they're barely watchable. How is it possible that a team with maybe the greatest individual scorer of all time, a team with Devin Booker, I don't even know what title I can give Devin Booker, one of the 2 to 3 best shooting guards in basketball, how can they be nearly unwatchable as a basketball team? What the hell is happening? So shout out to the Memphis Grizzlies because boy. And then the last team is the 76ers. I can't quit the 76ers, bro. Again, I know last night was absolutely nasty, but when Joel Embiid plays, they have a chance. And that's the thing. Will he plays? Will he not? I don't know. But they're slowly starting to climb up. They're the 11th. What bubble team is the 11th seed? The 76ers, I guess. But those are my ranks. When we come back, we're going to bring in producer Greg to do your favorite segment, 5 Out. Welcome in, producer Greg. Hopefully your holiday season was perfect, man. What we got today?
It was great, Kenny. Hope yours was as well. How long have you been creating NBA content? How many years now?
12.
12 years. So during your time as an NBA content creator, which NBA fan base has been most supportive of you and which has given you the most problems? Besides Chicago.
Okay, I was going to say Chicago's obviously number one. Everybody likes to see like a hometown kid do something. I would honestly say, so, man, this is kicking it back. The Toronto Raptors have always shown me a lot of love. Anytime I've been in the city or like the fan base, like, because I think it was just perfect timing because I used to stream NBA playoff games and I basically streamed every single night of their championship run. So I was kind of there and they in the chat, it would be 1,000, 2,000 Raptors fans celebrating with me because I don't know. I just like to see teams be successful after never having something. So I was like half rooting for them. And I think a lot of them remember that era. So they've always been super cool to me. On the other side, I don't have one, man. Like, I feel like there's going to be bad apples in every single fan base. I'm trying to think of what fan base I've pissed off the most. I mean, most recently I pissed off Philly fans. So that was something. But that was the first time that ever happened. Maybe Lakers fans. Because I'm usually like, I really don't give a fuck about the Lakers because they just get talked about all the time. But even then, a lot of Lakers fans like, yeah, what Kenny's saying is pretty real. So I don't get it often, man. I think it's the vibes that you put out is the vibes you get. And I try to stay as positive as can be. Of course, you need to criticize things when it's that time, but I usually are pretty positive. Make your first NBA bet a swish with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. FanDuel has your favorite bets from who will win the game to how many points a player will score. Plus, check out newer bets like number of dunks, assists, or three-pointers in the next 3 minutes. It doesn't matter if you tap into FanDuel before the game starts or after the game is already tipped off. You can pick up a W whenever. And it's the perfect time to get into the action because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/Kenny for a chance to score $250 in bonus bets. Before we get into the teams that I will not be watching for the rest of the season, I want to tell you about our sponsor, FanDuel, because right now they have a profit boost token on 3-leg same-game parlays for any Friday NBA game. And you'll receive 50% extra in payout on a winning wager. 3 legs, same-game parlay. Here's some stuff that's going on across basketball on Friday night. You got Wemby versus Jokic, the now versus the now and future, because Wemby is that damn good. I like the idea of both of them giving us some buckets, both of them, and maybe having a double-double. Is that setting the bar too low? Maybe, because they're both 7 foot and also rebound the ball very well. Then if Jalen Brunson is healthy, you got Jalen Brunson versus Shea. 2 of the teams that I already mentioned are on my contender tiers. They go against each other. And then the Pistons versus the Hornets always, and I mean always, give us some bangers. We got an overtime game. We got a game-winning shot from Brandon Miller in the previous game. And now get well soon, Jaden Ivey. It's an opportunity for some other people to potentially step up For real, get real soon. That was one of the scariest injuries I've seen. So if you just put together a 3-leg same game parlay, 50% extra payout on the winning wager. Let me know how you do. All right. Now, when I said I won't be watching these teams anymore, okay, that's not completely true. But we are at that part of the season where I have to be better at time management. Some teams are out of the race, out of every damn race, except for the race for Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper or this guy or that guy. And because of that, they know what they're doing. This is the round of time where some of those teams are just going to be bad on purpose. And bad on purpose is not a bad thing. Sometimes teams can be bad on purpose and I'm still locked in. 27, 28 straight losses, Detroit Pistons. I was locked. I like history. These teams, when I say I'm out, I mean that I'm probably going to opt to not watch these teams if they are the only game on. I'd probably opt to watch highlights or watch possessions or specific times in these teams' games instead of being, hey, it's 6 o'clock, this team is on, let me sit down with my popcorn and let me tune in. There's 5 teams here. The first team, it's 4 teams. The first team is my Chicago Bulls. The only reason I'm still watching is because it's my team. If I had no allegiance to the Bulls, I had no love for the city of Chicago, I would not watch this team. It's infuriating to watch. Who the hell knows who's going to be on this team in just a month's time? It's hard to really look at and evaluate for that reason. Will you even be here? Should I become a fan? Should I be more of a fan of you, or are you going to be gone by February 6th? I don't know. And they'll win a game against the Bucks, let's say, and then lose to the Wizards. Keep losing, please. I want to keep that first round pick. So, of course, I'm watching them every night, but that's mostly because I love Chicago so much so that I'm going to be there Saturday night. It's the Derrick Rose ceremony. I'm not in the know, but I would not be surprised if D Rose gets his number retired. And Chicago is not a city that retires a lot of numbers, but the way they're promoting this night, I have to be in attendance. I'm trying to use as many. Hey, listen, I know this is off topic, but I try not to use connections as much as I probably should. And one of my New Year's resolutions is to ask more. Ask more. So damn it, I'm in a room, Chicago. Is there a world where I can meet Derrick? I'm asking the question. Because what are they going to say? No, it's too busy of a night. Okay, cool. I'll just sit back in my chair. I'm going to be there regardless. So I'm gonna ask more this year. I'll tell you that. So, hey, if you're on the Bulls team and you're hearing this, because I ain't sending that text just yet, hit me up. All right, the next team is the Utah Jazz. I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I love to see when Keontae Jersey's on fire. I love to see if Walker Kessler gets traded this season, but I cannot sit down and watch a 7-25 team that I just don't know what the hell is going to go on. Sorry. Good luck in the lottery. Like, that's really it. Like, finally it's happening. I was tired of y'all starting off the season 500 through 20 games and be like, oh my God, now we can start the no. Tank early, keep your draft pick low. Next team is going to be the Washington Wizards. Same exact reasons. I don't think they're doing anything wrong over there. Jordan Poole's having a good season. The only thing wrong they did was ask Kyle Kuzma where he wanted to be traded instead of shipping his ass out early. They are a 6-25 team. I think they're doing the right thing, and they're going to end up with a top 5 pick, but Lord knows I'm not locked in enough to care about what they're doing. I'll watch me some Bilal minutes. I'll watch me some Bub Carrington. I'm not in love with Alex Sarr as a prospect, but I guess I'll watch a little bit of that, but the rest, no. Toronto Raptors, I'm there already. I know Scotty had a magnificent game the other night against the Brooklyn Nets. I can't do it, bro. I cannot do it. They went from a enjoyable watch bad team because they were in a lot of games to like, damn, y'all going to lose by 7. You were down by 70 in a basketball game, not locked in. And then the last team is the Brooklyn Nets as they continue to trade this guy, that guy, in order to keep their own first rounder and keep it low. And get well soon, Maxwell Lewis, who played 2 minutes with the Brooklyn Nets before he went down with an injury. I don't think we had a single report about what that injury is just yet, but I'm hoping that it's nothing significant because I really did think that he would be able to go to Brooklyn and get real PT since they're not playing for anything and they really get to see who he is as a player because I don't think he got an opportunity much in LA. So those are the teams I'm out on. And this team will continue to grow as the season go on. Those teams I'm not watching. They're like, the Pelicans are the worst team in basketball. They have 5 wins right now. Somehow I am intrigued enough to watch them occasionally. I'm intrigued enough to see Trey Murphy III average 22 points per game this month on 48-42 shooting splits. I'm intrigued. I love Trey Murphy III. I'm there. So it's not just about being a bad team because even though Hornets, I ain't cut them out just yet. They're awful. They're awful. I'll still tune into a Hornets game here or there. This team, this list will continue to grow. before we get out of here, I want to do the Ask KB segment. All you got to do is go onto Instagram, go to the Enjoy Small Ball Twitter or Instagram account, send a message, and you might be featured in the next episode.
Do you think the NBA is too soft when it comes to giving out technical fouls for taunting or trash talk, as well as finding NBA players?
It's a weird thing because there are players that have the biggest leash in the world. Shout out to Draymond Green. Are they too soft? I don't like the hanging on the rim texts. Any texts that are verbal towards each other as players, I'm not here for, because there's nothing I love more than good competition. And if you're trying to tell me these two players are jawing at each other and that's going to make the game more heated in a sense that now he want to bust his ass more, I'm not here for those texts. But when so-and-so player, whether it be a Dre, whether it be a Yoke, whether it be a Luke, whether it be whoever is getting into the faces of the referees and stuff, that's where I'm like, okay, we got to chill. Because these referees, Lord knows, their job is hard. They're very, very, very far from perfect. And they recognize that, right? They recognize that they may miss a call here or there, and getting into the face and doing that. I just never really seen it as beneficial. Sometimes you do get the makeup call here or there, but are they too soft with it? No. I'll say that. No. Keep finding them, because the fines go to charity, is what I heard.
Hey, Kenny, huge fan of the podcast and all your YouTube channels. I was wondering, my question is, do you have a favorite YouTube video that you've ever filmed? And follow-up question, do you have a least favorite YouTube video that you've ever filmed? My favorite of yours is probably the reacting to subscribers' jump shots that you did in like 2018. I was featured in that video. You had a pretty good starting five we were putting together. So what's your favorite video of all time and least favorite?
Wow. No, that's an OG fan. I forgot we did that. It was like, tweet at me your jump shot and we're going to grade them. That was so dope. 2018? God, so you've been around for a long time. I appreciate your continued support. I don't know if I have a favorite video. I think I have a favorite type of video. And those typically are the like, the short, super passionate rants. I don't get into that bag very often. But every time I do, it's because something has been boiling up in my system for the last week or so, and I gotta put it out to the world. And it's always been NBA related, right? I think the last one I did was last trade deadline when the Bulls did nothing. I did one when Draymond Green beat the shit out of Yusuf Nurkic. I think it was a 12-minute rant about how I'm tired of Draymond Green. That video, and I think I liked it so much because it allowed me to like, now I've said that and I can go back to watching objectively. But there was a time with Draymond doing all the extra stuff last year where I hated it. I also like when I get into other bags, like when I did the golf stuff. The golf stuff is so fun, bro. I absolutely love that. Or when I did those Hints of Hoop videos where I said, Victor Wembanyama is going to have a 5x5 soon. And literally the next night, I made a whole video about him having a 5x5. The next night, he got his first 5x5. So yeah, those are my favorite. My least favorite, I mean, at this point in time, I don't play much 2K. The only time I load up 2K is to film content. So just that genre in general is probably my least favorite. But it's a weird place to be because obviously it's part of my job. And it also seems to, based on the views and the likes and the comments, bring so many other people joy that I've been doing it for so long that it will feel weird to rip that away. So even though I don't enjoy it as much as the other content, I still feel like it has a place because people enjoy it so much. Also, hey, this podcast is pretty fun too. So that would be it. Usually I haven't been a guy that cared about New Year's resolutions and so on and so forth. This year I'm tackling it a little bit differently. I already mentioned how I'm going to ask more. I've been very candid about my mental health on this show and pretty much any place you give me a microphone, I will let you know because I know other people are struggling and they're struggling worse than I am. So I kind of want to talk about some of the things before we get out of here that I'm prioritizing in 2025. The first one is my own mental and physical health. I am 133 pounds and I have been this way for years now. At one point at my lowest, I was 119 pounds. And I think one of the things that, for me, when I put it out to the world, I become more motivated, right? This could be something that I don't talk about at all on this show or any other platform, but I feel like if I put it out in the world, I would treat it like something, or the seriousness of it, right? So one of my New Year's resolutions is to take care of my physical health and get myself to what I deem to be a healthy weight, which I don't really have the number just yet. I don't know what that number looks like, but I'm thinking about it like, man, my daughter is 37 pounds right now. I be tired walking her up them stairs. That can't be good. That can't be good. So I'm going to ask more. I'm going to care more about my own personal mental health and physical health and not put my work over those things. And that was something that has happened historically throughout my life where, yeah, I get to lunch, but these 2 videos I got to film is the first thing. No, not anymore. I'm tracking my calories. I'm making sure I work out. I'm doing pretty much I'm going to therapy. I'm doing all the necessary things to get over what has literally been classified as an eating disorder by my therapist. And again, I say this to keep myself accountable, but also if there's anybody listening that is also going through some stuff similar to this, you are not alone. Like there are many and many of us, even adult males is something I've learned that the percentage of adult males going through eating disorders is a lot higher than it was 10, 15 years ago. So you're not alone and I'm not alone. And I'm trying my very best to get better. And I'm tracking things. And I'm feeling good. And again, we're 2 days into the new year, baby. But that's it. And there's one more. I'm going to do my very best to try to let people know how much they matter to me. I know it's kind of hard to keep up with the whole content universe I've created between this and my channels, my podcast, my other podcasts. But at the end of our last podcast numbers on the board, I basically begged the audience to help me find my former basketball coach, Coach Slavic. I hadn't seen him in 8 years, maybe. He was my coach my freshman year of high school. So what is that, 14 years ago? And I hadn't seen him in forever. I hadn't heard from him in forever. And I couldn't find him. And I asked the people on the internet, if you can help me find my former coach, please help. And like 4 hours after that video posted, Jay Swizzle, who's been a part of the community forever, found Coach. And unfortunately, Coach passed away in 2021. Had no idea. And I never got a chance as an adult to let him know how much he meant to me. And it was such a moment I don't think I ever forget, where we're sitting for New Year's Eve. I had all the guys over. It's Mike, it's Pierre, it's Derek, it's all of our friends. Our boy Tyler spent 4 years in Marines. Thank you for his service. And he finally he's out. He's done. He did his 4 years, like he was in jail. He did his 4 years and he's out and he's finally home. So it's like, hey, for New Year's, let's go to my house. Let's chill. Let's bring in 2025 together. And we're sitting around the table. And we're just talking, catching up. I mean, he's been gone for 4 years. And though we've texted occasionally, he was in the damn military. He's in Japan. He's in Australia. So much that has happened in 4 years that we're really catching up. And Pierre picks up his phone. He opens it. He says, no fucking way. I say, everybody look at him like, what? He said, they found Coach. And I'm like, let's go. And then he turned it around and there was a picture of Coach's obituary. And none of us, we all played under Coach Slavic. I never got an opportunity to tell him how important he was to who I am as a person and how much I fucking love basketball, man. And I just want to put that into the world. First, thanks to Jay Swizzle for doing the research of finding Coach so fast. But also I want people to tell people you care about them, man. If it's a counselor, a former teacher that was very important to helping mold you into who you are today, please find a way to get in contact with that person. Because I don't know how Coach would have reacted if I met up with him 4 years ago before he passed away and let him know that, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. It's relatively successful. It's in the realm of basketball. Yeah, Coach, I was your starting point guard on freshman B team. I knew I wasn't going to make it to the league, so I did something else. I'm sure he would have been very proud, but I never had to get that. I never got an opportunity to get that moment. So even if it's not even somebody very distant, if it's a parent, if it's a grandparent, if it's a fucking brother, a cousin, Let them know you care and let them know you love them, because you never really know. I appreciate you for listening or watching this episode of Small Ball with Kenny Beecham. Between that, the story I just told you, and me going to this high school Christmas tournament, I do believe that one day I want to coach. I do believe it. In Coach's obituary, it talked about how he was a mentor to 40 different coaches and had over 1,000 different players under him. And I'm thinking about how he impacted me individually. Of those 1,000 players, I'm not alone. I know he impacted other people's lives like that too. I want to have that impact on younger kids as well. So I don't know when I'll be able to put on the damn sweatsuit, because I'm not wearing a suit, that says team logo or school name, but damn it, I want to do it because I want to be that positive impact for kids growing up. Appreciate y'all. See y'all next week.